like this, or should it sit like how do you do?
I don't know.
Cross the legs? Do you not cross the legs? It's difficult to really know what to do. So hello everybody, welcome to NameCast.
Yeah.
My name is Nathan, and beside me is
Kevin.
Beside me for the last time, I guess, eh?
I don't know about that, but
We'll see.
for this channel anyway.
Yeah, I should have told you about the hitman. He's waiting outside the door. Yeah.
What's that red laser on my shirt?
Pay no attention. Yeah. So this channel's been pretty dead, huh?
Yes.
It's been Kevin just told me 9 months or 8 months. 9 months.
I think.
Yeah, 8 months since the last video went up. And neither of us we've been doing nothing, right? I think a whole lot of nothing. Whole lot of nothing. What's new, man? What's up? I don't think we've seen each other in like a month and a half.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I don't know. I've went to multiple places in Canada due to dodgeball.
Yeah. Why's that?
I'm working on a dodgeball documentary, Nathan.
WDBF is a lot more strategic. You have positions, you have game calling, not just running around throwing balls aimlessly. There's a lot more strategy, a lot more teamwork, and you'll find the best teams out there are the teams that are able to play together, because if you don't, you just get picked off one by one.
I am so proud of how PEI did in Quebec.
I think we are definitely a team that can surprise a lot of people. Like when we played some of the top tier teams, Havoc, Fury, like we came very close.
We're getting a lot better. I find that we've definitely progressed just in a short amount of time. People definitely know our name now.
You're practicing constantly. You're always watching footage, trying to figure out like what you can do better. You're watching footage of other players, seeing what they do really well and seeing how you can copy and emulate that. So in some ways, it's become just a part of life.
There's this thing that people said to us for a while. Oh, in 6 years, you guys will be good. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then the following year at Barrie, they say, oh, in 2 years, you'll be good. Don't worry about it, you'll be there. Don't worry, kid. Following year, this year, they don't say this. They don't say that to us anymore. You know why? Because we're here. It didn't take us 6 years.
It's my life. Like, I live for the sport. I work so that I can travel and play the sport all over the world. Like, there isn't a moment when I'm not thinking about it. I'd say it's one of the few things that actually makes me happy.
I don't know. Like, this community is one of a kind.
Tell me about it.
So I got approached by my buddy who runs the local dodgeball scene here about making a documentary about dodgeball. And that was about all the vision we had at that point. So since then, we've kind of figured out that we want to kind of show how awesome the community is, how passionate people get for it, and just kind of how it affects their lives and stuff.
Right.
So part of that's been following some key individuals from the local scene here. So we've gone to big tournaments with them. There's like the Canada National Tournament in Winnipeg.
Yep.
So I was there. That city holds its reputation very well.
How do you mean? For being awesome?
Yeah. Well, we were walking back from the venue one evening.
Yeah.
Back to the old hotel. And a Jets game was getting out.
Oh no. Okay,
so people everywhere. So we saw some cops and we figured, oh, they're just, diverting traffic and pedestrian flow.
Yeah,
and
lots of people.
Whatnot.
There, yeah. Make it.
Nope, that's not what they were doing. They were cordoning off the scene of a random stabbing. And we walked past the crime scene, and there was
Jesus.
There's quite a puddle of blood on the ground.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, did someone die?
I don't think they died.
Jesus, I feel bad for
we
laughing
saw the
now,
ambulance go past.
Wow.
But yeah, that was
That's Winnipeg.
Yeah, I was not very comfortable. The couple times I was like walking alone with all my camera gear on my back.
Like late at night.
Yes, I didn't do it too much late at night.
Yeah.
I made sure I was with other people.
Yeah.
But even like during the day.
Oh, you're getting like some odd glances from people and stuff,
Yeah.
and just like, okay.
Yeah, it's weird. I just try to keep my distance from people, and I don't know. Like the crazy thing, like there's obviously a lot of like poverty and homelessness issues there.
Yeah.
But there was not beggars.
Oh, really?
And I think it was just because there was that many like impoverished people there that they would just be begging from like other beggars, right?
Oh, wow.
They just didn't even bother. It was insane.
Huh.
So yeah, that was something. I don't want to go back to Winnipeg if I can choose not to.
Jeez. You should get an endorsement from the land of Winnipeg. What is it, a city? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should get an endorsement from the city of Winnipeg. It'd be, yeah.
We should.
It'd be great. They'll sponsor the podcast.
Yeah, so if you ever heard the Weaker Thans song "One Great City,"
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, insert now.
I hate Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
After that, yeah, I just came back the other weekend. I don't remember how long ago, 1 week or 2 weeks, from Barrie, Ontario, which is where like a North American-wide dodgeball tournament happens. Mm-hmm. That was pretty fun. I actually played a bit in that.
Nice.
So I'm just filming, but we also interviewed a lot of like American dodgeball players, a lot of people from across Canada and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so pretty big milestone. We're pretty far through it now. We mostly just need to follow people to the World Championship.
Right.
And that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's a big project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very big, very big. Nice. So how do you see it coming together? Do you see it coming out in this year, or you're not sure, or how's everything going there?
Oh, it's certainly not happening this year.
Oh, really?
Well, because we're following people to Worlds, like that was something we weren't really decided
you are
on
going
yet.
Worlds?
But yeah, we are going to
So
do
you're going
that.
to LA. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
expensive.
Expensive, yes. So yeah, well we're gonna follow that. That's in like October, November or something, sometime around then. So obviously, editing is gonna take many months, which puts us into 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, there's a grant that I was just looking up before this. I'll tell you about it after, but yeah, there is something you should be able to get some funding through in post. Anyway, that's awesome, man. So you've been liking it? It's been good?
Yeah, it's been wild and hectic and busy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, other than that, which is like a huge time commitment, there's also work.
Right.
We are towards the end of our project, which is Star Wars Rise to Power.
Okay.
And yeah, we're just crunching real hard to get everything done.
It's been like a year of crunch.
Game industry.
The crunch never ends.
Another thing that holds up to its reputation, the
Yeah.
game industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Winnipeg, the game industry.
Yeah, that's
one and the same.
The two things you need to learn. If you learned anything from this episode so far, it's those two things. And you know, that's good. It's good information to know.
Yeah.
Information to know. Yeah, cool. So I've, totally moved out of the film industry entirely. No, actually, I went full bore in. So that's what I do now full time, 100%. Quit all my jobs. I run a film production company, Wrong Horse Productions. Hire us for porn or something, but maybe not that. But you know what? We'll take anything. It's been super fun. It's taken me a lot of places. I guess I just came back from Nunavut the other week. That was awesome. I just shot. I can't say what it is, but I was production coordinator on the biggest show in Canada. That's cool. That was pretty exciting. I had like a crew of about 40 people. That was sweet. That doesn't happen every day, to be totally clear. That is first time for me with something like that, but it was awesome. Yeah, man, it's been a great time actually. Trying to think of any good stories I have. I do have one good story, but I'll get into it a little bit later, because ultimately, you know, Kev, this show is about video games to some degree, right? That's how we started it. That's how we went. So I've been playing a video game, and it's been a long time since I've actually played a video game. I picked up God of War, and I tell you, dollars to donuts. Don't know what that means. It's fucking good.
Yeah.
It's really...
I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about it, but I haven't played it yet.
I don't know if you'd like it. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's down such a structured path that I don't think you'd enjoy. Maybe you would, but like it's definitely got some just gaminess that is kind of pervasive throughout the industry in big AAA titles. And from what I know from you in games, I just don't know if that's something that totally appeals to you.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it works really, really well.
Yeah.
And most of the time, like, it just like doesn't land for me.
Yeah. And I think you know what I mean when I say that, but I mean, like, it has specific systems set in place and very strict rules for those systems that, you know, it kind of holds your hand through sometimes. And it can be a bit of a pain, especially, you know, with, I mean, a game that we, you know, pretty much founded this channel on, Dark Souls, right? It doesn't do that at all, and that's what I'd much rather prefer. But when you get into having so many systems like that, it makes the game kind of obtuse if you're not explaining any of them, and then you're not going to hit a wider market. And that's just kind of, you know what I mean? That's why it falls into that niche appeal. So as an actual game, really fun. The combat's great. It has a lot of different systems going on, so you're always having new things introduced, and not just like in the Batman way of, okay, now this guy has a knife, so I have to learn how to deal with that, but it's a little more dynamic than that. So you have the sun, and he's able to shoot arrows and different types of arrows for different situations, and he fires them on your command. Yeah. And as far as an AI companion, he's the best I've ever seen in a game, because he hangs around you really well, and the way they have dialogue for him, it's not too obvious. Like, when you're supposed to go somewhere, they're like, oh, look at this thing over here. Hey, you're gonna come over and check out this thing. Like, he kind of says it in obvious things, like, what the fuck is that? Like, you know, looking at something, like, in a way that, like, however old the kid is, like 12 years old, kind of makes sense, right? And from a story perspective, it's phenomenal in that it's taken a character like Kratos, who's just, well, he's famous for screaming at people. Yeah. That's all he does, right? He's a shitty character. Like, you know, you look up the fictional dictionary, worst character ever made, he'll probably be up there. And the fictional dictionary is a common thing that I go to. It's I call it the Fictionary, actually. It's well known in the Nathan household.
Very clever.
Yes, thanks, buddy. Thanks. Yeah, but it's he's been a terrible character, more or less, and they've kind of just rebooted the character, yet staying within a similar universe.
Yeah. And
I haven't gotten to the point where it explains where we get from, you know, the Greek gods to the Norse gods, but, you know, who gives a shit? Because it wasn't really about Kratos to begin with. You know, it was, but he was such a bad character. It was just about the big, massive action set pieces that are going on within the game.
Yeah.
And now that they're actually making me care about this guy who's basically, it's like a dad trying to relate to his son. And, you know, I'm not at the point where I'm at fatherhood yet, but it kind of hits you in the heartstrings like, oh man, if I had a kid, like, I think this would get me choking up at some points. Like, I swear to goodness, man, it's funny. He's just trying to talk to him, and the kid doesn't know. He doesn't know that his dad cares about him, you know? So it's like there's some angst, and there's a lot of really fun emotional moments. So for me, that's been like a game that's totally surprised me in how good and just emotionally resonant it is. So what have you been playing?
I'm not sure if I've even been playing too much new stuff. Mm-hmm. I've still been playing Stardew.
Okay.
One thing I was doing since we last put up a video was working on 100% for Dark Souls.
How's that been going?
I've been made no progress in the past few months.
Yeah.
But like, I'm really close. I just need to start doing the new game plus cycles.
Okay.
To get the different boss holes, to make the different weapons, and to pick up a couple of the slabs that you need.
Right.
Multiple
right,
of.
to get everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really, really close on that. I just need to push myself to actually do that at some point.
Yeah.
Because like, made really good progress, like getting all the spells and stuff. Like, it felt like, you know, getting achievements, like getting closer. This is the point where it's like, I'm going to get one achievement per playthrough now, and I need to do 3 more playthroughs.
Yeah. Have you ever beaten New Game Plus? I never have.
I did once.
Okay.
Yeah, New Game Plus, I've always found very easy.
Okay.
it's after that, and towards the end of it, I guess it gets a little difficult.
Yeah, NG plus 7 is where it caps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never had any drive to do that. It just gives the enemies more health, right?
Yes, I think so. I forget if they hit harder or not.
Oh, okay.
They might.
I have no idea.
Yeah. At a certain point, it's like one hit kills anyways. So.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty fun. Stardew Valley's going great. I have a Switch.
Yeah.
I've gotten that since.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you played through Super Mario Odyssey. You did Doki Doki Literature Club. Those are the 2 games I'm thinking off the top of my head, right?
Yeah. Doki Doki Literature Club was amazing.
Yeah.
I should have did a video for that for the channel. But yeah, it was great. I highly recommend it. Yeah, Super Mario Odyssey. I was a little disappointed by it, but it was still pretty fun.
So you were telling me you're disappointed. What are you disappointed by? Because
I think it was mostly that it was overhyped.
Okay.
There's a lot of like Game of the Year accolades thrown at it.
Yeah. And you don't think it was there.
Yeah, not quite there. Good game.
Yeah.
It definitely could have been more polished. It definitely could have been more deep.
Okay.
The breadth is pretty good, I guess. There's a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, because it's funny, that actual game was making me contemplate getting a Switch. I never ended up getting one because I, quite frankly, don't have any time. But that was the one that had me on the fence. But I'm kind of happy I didn't bother going for one. Maybe I'll pick one up in, like, I don't know, a couple years when they come out with, like, whatever a Switch 2.0 is. Like, not the next Switch, but, like, some type of hardware revamp because it doesn't...
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like they thought everything out with the hardware. Or how's your experience been with it?
I haven't had too many issues. One of my controllers is more sensitive to like being too far away than the other controller, or getting blocked by like objects in between.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes I have to be a little careful. Like I'll be like cross-legged and like bury my controller like in between my legs, and then
like while you're playing.
While I'm playing, and then it loses connection because like.
Oh, it can't go through your
my
leg.
Switch is at the dock way far away, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I really haven't had too many issues, and apparently they've been reworking some of the internals for it to make it less problematic, which is good.
That's good. Something that I thought was hilarious was when you bought your Switch, you also bought a 4K TV, but the Switch can't do 4K.
Yeah, the 4K was like future-proofing, because the TV I bought before... I
know,
bought in like 2009.
Yeah.
It lasted me to like late 2017.
Yeah,
like,
so a long time. Yeah.
I think 8 years from now there should be a decent amount of 4K content.
That's the hope, but you never know. Yeah. But I just thought that was so funny.
Worst case scenario, I've watched some 4K YouTube videos.
Oh, there you go. A couple of them.
Yeah, just kidding.
Linus Media
all the
Group.
Linus tech tapes. Like, you can see every pore of Linus's face. It's great.
That's what you want to see, every hole of Linus. Yeah. Anyway,
I do have another recent game I've been playing though, with friends called Monster Prom, and
what's this?
It's surprisingly fun. It's pretty much what it sounds like. So it's a multiplayer dating game, sort of.
How Japanese is it?
It makes fun of some Japanese stuff. Like it's very self-aware, So the humor in it is like fantastic. But it kind of plays more like a board game than anything else, really.
Okay.
So you start off like 3 weeks before prom. You need to find a prom date.
Yeah.
There's characters in the school that you get to ask, and it's a monster school.
Okay.
Everybody in the school is monsters. Your character is a monster.
It's just part of the universe.
Yeah, that's just how it is. And yeah, so you get like 3 weeks. There's like 3 events for each week, so it's like morning, lunchtime, evening, and then there's like weekend event things that can randomly happen.
Okay.
So yeah, each of those things you just kind of choose something to do. Usually it leads you to spending time with like the person you want to like. Person you're going after to ask to prom and stuff, but you're also like bringing up your stats, and your stats are really important because like a lot of the dialogue that you'll have, like they'll ask you a question and like how you respond. Like if you have a bold response, then your boldness stat needs to be high enough. If it's not, then you're going to get a bad outcome. If it is, then you're going to get a good outcome.
Okay, so the people that you're asking to prom, are they AI or are they your friends?
They're computers. Yeah, so you and your friends are like doing this all together, and like you could be going for the same targets. You could be going for different targets, but kind of be able to affect each other. Right. There's a lot of like secret and special endings and stuff.
Okay.
So there's like a shop that you can buy items, and there's like event items through that. Like if you buy one of those items, then you're going down this unique path.
Yeah.
Certain characters have different endings that you need items from the shop from. The shopkeeper generally can't date them, but like there's some like weird things you can do where like you go to her 3 times but don't buy anything, and then on the 4th time at lunch you buy something.
Okay.
And then then you'll start having a regular dialogue with her and stuff like that. But like if you're going for that, then like that blocks your friends out from accessing the shopkeeper. Unless like the turn order is random for each turn.
Okay.
So like if you go first, you could just screw them over, be like, hey, I know you're going for the shopkeeper, but I need to buy this item, so screw you. And because there's like a very limited set of things, it's like if you mess up a turn or miss a turn, then you're on like thin ice, and like,
oh really?
You got to make sure you hit what you need, or else you'll end up dateless for prom.
And then you lose.
Yeah, it's kind of losing. It doesn't really feel like losing, but it's losing.
So how long does a session last? Like,
well, it's kind of funny. Like, you can pick short session or like long session. The short one is just 2 weeks, but I highly recommend the long one. They say the short is 90 and the long is 120 minutes.
Okay.
But I found like we've gotten used to a lot of the dialogue, so we're mostly just like clicking through it kind of fast.
Right.
And it's taken us like 45 minutes.
For a long session?
For a long session that's supposed to be like 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I'd say for like your first time through, it's probably like an hour 15 to an hour and a half.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it really feels like a board game.
Yeah, the way you were describing it to me, it sounded like there's a lot of things that aren't, but it sounds kind of like Mario Party. A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. There isn't like a board you're going across or anything, but like, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like that. You know, you do this thing to screw over this person, and there's some odd little hidden weird things in there.
Yeah, it's got some cool stuff too. There's a couple like YouTube voice actors.
Okay.
Like ProZD did some stuff.
Of course he did.
Yeah. Jesse Cox, some other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, ProZD is like, is that what he does? Because he has a
he should
really
do
good
it.
friggin' voice.
I don't think he does do it professionally very much, but he should.
His like man voice is so good. You know what I'm talking about? It's very deep and gruff, and sounds like it's straight out of a video game. That's awesome. Yeah, man. Yeah. So what else is new? Okay, I gotta tell you guys a funny story then. So I don't think you've heard this one yet. So I just got back from Nunavut. It was whatever, and then I got started on this big shoot for the show. So I was pretty sleep deprived. I got home. We don't live together anymore. I mean, I don't know if you knew this, but I've lived with my girlfriend for the past 4 months, 5 months. Anyway, so I did the shoot. No, I didn't do the shoot. I got back from Nunavut. I was real tired, and I took my keys in, did my thing, and then the next day I was starting on that really big project. So I normally don't lock my doors. And it's just whatever. But 3 days ago, I was like, you know what? I know I'm going to be gone for probably 16, 17 hours. Yeah, that's the world of production, folks. Just if you're thinking of going into it, be prepared to do 17, 18-hour days. It's just the reality. And probably not too far off with video game production sometimes, It's
sometimes, yeah.
It is what it is. And that's just crunch time's very real. Anyway, so I knew that was going to be the case. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to lock my door, and that'll be whatever. So I go in, and I do my 17-hour day, and it was a long one, man. It was just running around. It was hot, that feeling like when you're in your shoes and your socks are just gonna be gross.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like a gross, sweaty dude to begin with. So So I knew it was gonna be pretty bad. So anyway, so I get home, and I try to open the door, and it's locked. I'm like, oh yeah, right, cool. And then I go around and look for the key, but I just remembered that I took my key and I put it inside when I got home from Nunavut, something I never do. So I'm locked out of my apartment entirely. So I'm like, oh shit. So I'm like, well, let's call my girlfriend who's in Nunavut, so she's nowhere close at all. And, so I call her up, and she's like, yeah, that's the only other key. I'm like, what do you mean that's the only other key? She's like, that's the only other key. Okay, so I'm like, fuck it, I gotta sleep somewhere tonight, because at this point, I know that if I go to sleep right now for my current call time next morning, which was about 4 a.m., I would have gotten maybe 4 hours sleep. So it was about midnight. So I'm like, okay, I gotta figure this out. So I texted one of my friends and I said, hey, I'm showing up at your place. I literally walked through his door. He was so kind, just set up the futon for me and everything. I'm like, that's awesome. So anyway, so I sit down and I'm, just about to get going, and then I realize I don't have my wallet. My wallet is gone. So I'm like, oh no. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, Nathan, just think about this. You can take care of it tomorrow. It'll be fine. So I'm laying there in bed, and you ever just have that feeling when like, something's not right and you just can't go to sleep?
Yeah.
And I'm like if I don't take care of this now, I'm not going to be able to get any sleep, and I'm going to be exhausted for tomorrow, which is going to be an even bigger day because that's actual shoot day. So I was like, I gotta go. So I take off. I don't even have any socks on. I just put shoes. I don't even think I had underwear on. I was just commando in my jeans, running around. I end up going to the hotel that the whole production's staying at. And like, it's a massive production. There's like over 100 for crew. So there's a lot of people around. And I see someone who like, my buddy who got me into the industry actually, and he's like, what are you doing, buddy? I'm like, locked out of my apartment trying to find my wallet. He's like, what the fuck? Like, so anyways, I'm going around looking for that. Can't find it for the life of me. And I was like, oh, maybe I left it at Mark's Work Warehouse because I had to run by and pick up some coveralls and pay with my own money, and it was a whole thing. And it was like $800 in coveralls. I know, right?
Wow.
Ridiculous for a show because something would have looked like blood if we had a shot at... Anyway, it's whatever. We were having zombies shoot paintballs at these people running through this big paintball field.
Yeah.
It was, what a ridiculous show. So anyway, so I'm like, frig, like maybe I left it at the store, but I wasn't entirely sure. So I went around checking every single parking lot, every place that I could have been. And I'm like, fuck it. You know what? It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen because we were having our... Basically, we were having some people fly in that night, and then we had to be going early next morning because they were going to be racing off and doing their thing, and then we had to follow them kind of as crew. That was the situation. So I'm like, you know what? I got to just get some sleep, and I'll accept the fact that my wallet isn't going because at this point, I may be going to get 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this sucks. So it's like 1:30, and I'm like, well, I got to just do what I got to do. So I start going to sleep, and my phone goes off, and it's my buddy. And he's like, he sends me a text and he's like, you won't believe it, man. The fucking flight didn't go. So they're coming in the next morning. You don't need to be there till 7. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, just like, fuck it, I'm gonna sleep. So I just went back to sleep. Like, actually got a solid 4 hours, which was great.
Yeah.
And I was stoked. So anyway, so I get up the next morning and I'm like, okay, do I have any other shirts to put on? So I open up my backpack. Swear to fucking God, the backpack I was carrying around the whole goddamn time, Kevin, my wallet.
Yeah.
My wallet was in the fucking backpack. So I was like, it was just ridiculous. I was like, God, are you kidding me? Like that, I spent all night looking for that. So whatever, I was pissed, but it was fine. I went in, I had my wallet. That was great. Not out of any money. But then the thing that I loved so much, having that extra 3 hours, turned everything into a shit show because when you have about 100 people and everything shifts by 3 hours, there's a lot of moving parts in that. Things got ridiculous. There were first aid people showing up way before they were supposed to. There was a guy sleeping in his car somewhere. At one point, we're just putting out all these fires as much as we can, and then we're all sitting there and like people are just coming in screaming at us because that's just what happens when you work in a production office.
Yeah.
And shit you not, it was like one of those, like there's 5 of us in the core production team. We're just looking at each other like this can't get any worse. And then over the fucking intercom, boop, 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 warning, this is a fire alert, this is a fire alert. And we're just looking at each other like, I swear to God, if we have to leave this building right now, someone's gonna die. Like this. That went on for like 15 minutes, just boop, 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 like fuck off. Like this is awful. But anyway, we ended up getting through there in the end. And to get into my house, so the shoot went fine. And to get into my house, I actually had to break in with a sledgehammer. I broke the door handle and I just put a new one on.
Fair enough.
Yeah, let me tell you though, if you need to break into a house, sledgehammer will get you in pretty quick.
Nice.
So that's my that's my story. So you should really get a job in production, kids. It's really good for your health and for your sanity and just for everything. In all honesty though, no, it's been fantastic. Yeah, so how did we get into all this?
Well, the YouTube's part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really even remember how that stuff really started. Like,
So it was over 2.5 years ago. A little over two and a half years ago, you and I were in our new apartment. We had just
Yeah.
moved in together. We had moved from home, basically.
Yeah.
So we were both living at our own respective homes.
Out of our parents' place.
Yeah, out of our parents' place. And, you know, we got talking one day, and it was just like, fuck it, do you want to get a place? Sure.
Yeah.
So we pulled that together, and we got Richard there, and we got an apartment that was way too expensive. You learn so much stuff with your first apartment.
I mean, like, I think it was the right cost for 3 people.
That's a whole other story.
Two people, not
two
so
people,
much.
it was way too expensive. But
yeah.
anyway, that's learning experiences. So, so we were going that, and that was fun. And, you know, you kind of got me into Dark Souls a little bit, kind of, sort of. Like, around the time that you and I met each other would have been 2012. I had played Dark Souls once, and I didn't like it. I thought it was a terrible game. And you're like, just keep playing. And I was like, no, you're stupid. So I didn't. And then someone gave me Dark Souls 2, and I liked that a whole bunch. And I think you and I had a debate one night. It was like, I was like, dude, Dark Souls 2 is just a better game. I swear to God, this was a conversation that I said. If you've seen this channel a lot, the amount I shit on Dark Souls 2. But I was like, man, it's just a better game. You're like, well, do you beat Dark Souls 1? I'm like, well, no, because it sucks. It's whatever. And you're like, dude, just go back and play it. Trust me, you'll like it. So it was maybe like a month before we moved in together, I actually beat Dark Souls 1 for my first time. And I was like, oh, this game's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So then you and I were sitting on the couch, and we were just kind of shooting the shit, playing the game, and we started to make up these rules, right?
Yeah, it was based on like drinking game rules that I'd seen for the game a while ago, but we added a big special one to it.
Exactly. So the simple rules for what's called Drunk Souls is that you have to finish the rest of your drink when your character dies. Those are the base rules. And we were talking with each other, and I don't know why we thought this, but we're like, that's too easy.
Yeah.
We have to amp it up from here, because, you know, we were just having some beers one night, just chatting, going along, and we're like, well, why don't we do it that you have to drink whenever your character drinks?
Yeah.
And that was the base idea. And then we ended up adding other things like random leveling and the bonfire keeper.
Yeah, it was mostly just stuff because like the early part of the game's pretty easy to breeze through.
Yeah.
So we're just like, why don't we make that more difficult? Like the later part of the game, like those rules were
definitely not a good idea. But so that's where it started. And we said to each other, and we started playing that together one night. And I think Richard came in. He's like, oh, that looks kind of cool, guys. You and I were chatting, and it was something I thought about doing forever, was like doing something with YouTube, but I never had anyone to do it with who wanted to actually do it. So I think we went into your room the next night, and we're like, fuck, do you want to do this? Like, do you want to try this out? And we knew nothing. But if I've learned anything over the past couple years, it's that ignorance can be so powerful.
Yeah.
Because I never would have started a company if I knew how much competition there was locally and how much everyone's kicking ass around me. You know what? I had no idea the amount of the amount I would have to learn and how much I sucked in comparison to everyone else.
Yeah.
But the fact that I didn't know that and I just went for it was like a big part of the reason of, well, why I ended up doing it. Because I think I would have got scared off otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing for us, is we didn't know what we didn't know.
Yeah.
Right? So we just started doing it, and literally the first episode looks like oatmeal.
Yeah, so like we were using OBS.
Yeah.
We were using webcam I have. It was
a good
decent
webcam.
like all things considered.
But there was an issue.
We had a Blue Yeti for yours.
Yep.
But yeah, we had bitrate settings set to something that's kind of passable for streaming.
Yeah.
For recording, not so great.
Not so great. And the video was baked in. So it was baked into that actual recording. So like the quality of the whole thing is really not that good, you know, but we didn't know what we didn't know. And it just kind of continued from there in such a learning curve.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing and let me know if I'm talking too much, because I don't know, it's something I think about sometimes. A big thing for me is like, so that I had someone else to do this with, it was so much more motivating, you know, because what we were doing was like, we were getting no views, like, you know, there was nothing like that, but it was just the enjoyment of, you know, knowing that, okay, this is the night that we're going to sit down for 3 hours, we're going to have a blast, because, you know, we had fun, we were playing one of our favorite games, getting drunk as hell with, like, one of my best buddies, like, it's just, you know, you can't really go wrong there, and we were just learning and having so much fun in the edit as things went on, right?
Yeah. And like the process of learning, all this kind of stuff too was like, that was really motivating as well. Like, we got to learn together, and we got to riff off of what each other were like better at learning and stuff. And
Yeah.
that worked really well. And yeah, I think once we started getting into like gear and stuff, then
it started to switch, right?
Yeah.
So, the big thing that we knew was, okay, we could get along with this webcam for a little bit, but we're going to need something different. So, I don't know if it was the right direction to go in, but at the time it seemed like the right direction. We picked up a camcorder. Now, the quality of video on this camcorder wasn't great, but the biggest thing is we could do big, long recordings and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing.
We didn't need to be tied down to like a computer that the webcam was connected to, so it gave us a lot of options for doing different stuff.
Yeah.
And you saw that in the podcast, like when we went around to various island locations and just did them remotely.
Yeah, we could do that, and we weren't, because the thing was, I wasn't sure about DSLRs because I knew that they cut off at a certain time limit, and I really didn't think we could get what we wanted out of it. Now that I know what I know now, I would definitely not recommend someone, if they really want to make pretty things, to get a camcorder right out of the bat, because you don't have a lens that you can really F around with at all, right? It's a built-in lens. But, at the time, that's what we thought was a good idea. And then moving from there, we realized we needed better microphones.
Yeah.
So the solution we went with at the time was some handheld mics, and that was okay, but I think it was when we got
because I had one, and you wanted to get one anyways, because
Exactly.
you did music stuff, so it just kind of made sense.
It made sense at the time, and then I think things started to really bump up a little bit more when we got a mixing board with that, and then we got a shotgun mic. So then the shotgun mic made it, okay, so now we can actually have this set up properly and do a proper set, and then we thought about lights.
Yeah.
And then so we got the lights, and with our light kit came
and the
backdrop.
green screen.
Exactly, the backdrop with the green screen. So now we were actually doing a little bit heavier editing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were dealing with chroma keying, we were dealing with multiple scenes and sequences, we were getting into, around this point would have been, what about Drunk Souls 3 maybe? So that would have been 2016? Yeah. April of 2016 or so.
Yeah.
And that's when we were really starting to get into more green screen work, and we were trying to run a daily podcast for a while, and we were using a green screen for that. So that's something we were doing a lot of. So the video editing was getting more intense, especially with our heavier edited video game focused content.
Yeah.
Because we had one show where we had multiple timelines going, and I think the thing was I got too meta with it at certain points. Do you remember Bad Blood?
Yeah.
The amount of meta things going on in that show was too much. We had a thing set up so that we would say lines of a song in sequential order in the video itself, and if someone were to look at those clips and then put together the song, they could win a free game at the end of the who's gonna do that? But I thought it was something that would draw people in, and it's funny learning those things of, there's putting in effort, and then there's putting in effort for no reason.
Yeah.
That's gonna get no return, and it's learning those experiences. So what I'm trying to say is the edit was getting more and more complicated as we were going, and at this point we were using Movie Studio, right?
Yeah,
we were still using Movie Studio
based on Vegas.
Yeah, and that was going not too bad. And at a certain point, you decided to switch off to Premiere. And I think the first video you shot in Premiere was actually the highest viewed video on the channel. 3 lore questions for Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that you shot in Premiere. So, what was your experience like kind of with where I'm at so far in the story of kind of the learning curve from a tech standpoint?
The tech stuff was all, it was all pretty good and fine. There was all those things we could do better now. I know so much more about setting up lights. It's been a fucking long time since I've done a green screen, but I know if I did it now, I could easily set it up better than any time we ever did it for the channel. There's a tech side of stuff. There was a lot of editing learning and just story learning and stuff like that as well. I think I got to show that more often, kind of like Random Souls, because Dark Souls or Drunk Souls 3, we kept that really punchy. Just kind of joke. Whereas Random Souls, we got to kind of do a little bit more longer type stuff, and
Yeah, and
you got to see like our emotions and experience while playing.
Yeah, and I think part of that too was learning to be a little more engaging when, I guess in Random Souls we weren't on camera, but it was learning to be just more engaging in general when being recorded.
Yeah, but also like, yeah, we learned how to be engaging in a few different ways, because like for the longest time it was just like engaging is funny.
Yeah, so, and, you know, we thought, and this may have been a confidence thing, at least for me, you know, I thought I could only be funny when I was drunk. Yeah. Which, you know, maybe is I guess, a testament to maybe where my confidence levels were at the time. But, you know, I think we got more comfortable with that as we progressed, and that's not necessarily something I would recommend, to just get drunk on camera a lot for your first, you know, months doing it, but... I mean, for me, it's kind of what worked and got me much more comfortable in just in front of cameras. But I think that permeated into so many other areas of my life when I really started to kind of take control of a lot of things. And just, I don't know, for me, it kind of made me more comfortable being the leader that I think I'm pretty good at being. And I think, you know, it had some result like that for you, yeah?
Yeah, it's like, a lot of it's just like, tackling things you could have anxiety about. Like, most people don't like being like right in front of a camera, and that's something we had to learn. Yeah. And like we stretch that in a bunch of different ways, or it'd be like reaching out to people to be like guests or whatever, doing it in more public settings than like, you know, the privacy of our house or whatever. Like, yeah, we got to challenge a lot of that stuff, and like I just think that process of challenging yourself makes the next time you challenge yourself, be it whatever it is, it's easier.
Yeah, because I remember when I was growing up, I mean, you know, I don't talk about this much on the show ever, but, you know, I went to a private school for the longest time, and I didn't interact with people a lot because it was such a small, insular group. So, you know, when I ended up going to an actual public school, I was fucking terrified, and I ate my lunch in the bathroom every day. You know, I didn't have any friends, I didn't do that. So, you know, the social development for me came a lot later in life. So, you know, it wasn't really until like, you know, a couple years into university that I actually started to get more friends, and I started to socially develop and talk with people. And, you know, when I tell people this now, they think I'm crazy because, you know, I give off a very confident persona, and, you know, I mean, you know, just this week I had a group of 100 people follow me around, and I was, you know, leading the charge, being the whatever, right? Yeah. So it's something that definitely just taught me, you know, I was always scared I was going to do something that people were going to look at me and be like, oh, what's he doing? And now I'm like, man, I hope people look at me and be like, what's he doing? You know what I mean? Like, it totally flipped the script for me. And it just, you know, it got me fine with being like, you know, the camera was my armor for a certain amount of time. And it's, you know, I'm doing this ridiculous thing, but I have a camera, so it justifies why I'm doing it. And now I've just reached a point where I really don't care what anyone thinks what I'm doing. I mean, as long as I'm within the confines of the law, like, I will basically do whatever I want, whenever I want. I'm not trying to be rude to people, but like, you know, if I need to get something done, I'm just going to do it, and I don't care if I look like a goofball. Yeah. And I think that's something that I've always admired in other people, and I'm starting to see that admiration come back towards me. And I mean, I would be lying if I didn't attribute a lot of that to this silly little YouTube channel, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like, regarding that, like, social anxiety and stuff, like, a lot of, like, my social anxiety anyway is, like, thinking that people are looking at me when they're not. Yeah. And doing this YouTube channel for so long where it's, like, we're actively trying to get people to look at the stupid things we were doing and having difficulty with that. And suddenly it becomes like, oh, yeah, I guess I can do stuff and people aren't going to like think it's that weird. Yeah, exactly. Or as weird as I'm building it up in my head, right?
You know, the thing is like people care so much about themselves that they don't want to do anything weird so no one else looks at them, basically, right? So you think someone's worrying about you, but they're really just thinking about how their hair looks or how whatever, right? Yeah. Or that they have a funny looking shirt on today or something like that. So it's, you know, people don't give as much of a shit about you as you probably think they do. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but what I mean is they're not thinking about, oh wow, why is he doing that like this? Like, no one gives a shit. That's really...
There's also the side of that of learning how to make people give a shit when you want them to.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think for me, at least, was very tough for the channel because, you know, I wouldn't consider this a successful YouTube channel at all, you know? And I think a lot of that comes from we tried to do what we thought people would like. and maybe we didn't necessarily always try to do what it is we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've really found the balance for that, but for me that's been massive because, you know, just because you put the effort and the time into something doesn't mean that anyone has to give a shit. You know, no one owes you anything. So, you know, it doesn't matter that we put, I don't know how many hours into editing some of those Drunk Souls, right? Like, you know, we put tons of hours into it and no one would watch it because maybe it's just, I don't know why. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we obviously weren't tapping into something, but it was when we started to actually do what we wanted to do with our Random Souls run, which unfortunately was like kind of our start of a success when we started to wane out of things, right? You know, like the first episode has 1,000 views, and every subsequent episode has quite a lot of views too in comparison. You know, they were getting organic views, and it was around that time that our sub count jumped. The biggest jump we'd seen was when we stopped, right? It was funny.
I think it was, Should we move on to how that stop like came to be? I mean, a lot of it was busyness, but also like, I think the success of Random Souls was a little bit part of it as well, because we started seeing ourselves making things of a higher quality. And we started to care a lot more about that quality, and the thing that was holding us back on the most on the channel for sure was that camera.
The camera that we thought would work so well in the beginning was really our limiting factor at a certain point. And it's, you know, it's a good camera for certain things, but if you want to get that pretty shot, and especially if you want to do a nice green screen, a big thing you need is you need that depth of field. So what the depth of field is probably what you're seeing right now. Now, I don't know how, it looks like the aperture is actually pretty closed off, but if Kevin did this shot the way...
It's fairly open. Okay. You should be able to see the background's a little softer.
Yeah, exactly.
If I come in,
he's probably
then I'll
blurry.
be soft, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We have this defined area.
And what that does is it makes your object stand out in the frame, but it's also great for green screening, because then if you have a blurry image in the background, it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of a shadow on it, because you're going to have a more even color on it, which is so much better for the chroma key, which is something that, you know, we struggled with a lot, because, you know, I kind of spiked my hair up a little bit, and my hair would be like coming in and out.
You have blonde hair as well.
Exactly.
Like, there is green hues to your hair. Like,
so it's just, it has trouble picking all that up. So I think the biggest thing was when you bought this camera is when things started to take a massive shift. So what led you to the point of being like, you know what, I'm going to plunk down $1,000 on a camera?
So how my work works is we don't get like Christmas bonuses. Our bonuses come after the end of the fiscal year. So by the time we get them, it'll be about June. And last year, I knew what I was getting. I was going to get a good camera. I had a few checklists, and I did a lot of like research, and a lot of learning about cameras and stuff. And I wanted something that could shoot 4K. I wanted something that people were like really ecstatic about, like the quality of. And still came in at like a reasonable starter price. And I ended up getting the Sony A6300, along with a Cine lens by Rokin.
And the Cine lens was a friggin' game changer, I think.
Yeah, because like, really like the camera body itself compared to that last one, it has better low light performance. You know, it has 4K instead of just 1080. Less noise, but option-wise, the two really aren't that different. Like, it's not like just having that body is going to make me be able to do shots that I wouldn't be able to do otherwise. It's the lens.
The lens that really makes the difference.
Yeah, that's where we get to control the depth of field. Really, a lot of that low light performance is coming more so from that lens, because I can open it up to so much light. We actually have like proper focus control on that. Like, that focus is just static. I have it set to here. We can kind of do that on that camcorder, but
really though, you know, and it was
barely any control for it.
And I think the sensor was so small on that camera that it was such a small aperture that like it was really pushing in those low light scenarios. So, you know, you can see some shots where we were trying our best to set it up, but we were still getting some dynamics that the camera itself just couldn't handle. So it was being pushed way too hard, and that's when you see the graininess, and that's when someone looks at it and goes like, oh, that looks like shit. It's because your camera's pushing a little too hard, and you can't quite get that dynamic range that you need. So with something like this, that definitely changed the game. And it was around this time when you got that camera that I actually got my first job in film. So I was using my dad's camera, which was an old Sony A something. I forget the name of it, but it was basically same price point a camera as this one, but from like 5 or 6 years before.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe a little bit cheaper price point than this one, but like same kind of concept. So it maxed out at 1080. But that's what I started using for that film job I got. And I knew I had some money coming in. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take the plunge and I'm gonna buy a camera that ended up being a little bit cheaper than yours actually, but it's not bad. It was a Panasonic G7, and I still use it to this day actually. And the big thing for that was I also got a cine lens, and that just, I literally use it for everything.
Yeah.
Every single thing. And that was the game changer at that point. And that's when I started using Premiere. And, for me, you were doing a lot of the tech stuff with Premiere, and you were doing all the Photoshop and everything like that. But once I started to realize that I could use these programs, and that these are the programs that higher level, editors use. Like if you're be an editor on a project, chances are you're going to be using Final Cut or Premiere.
Yeah.
It's either the two. You're not going to use Vegas, which is basically what a movie studio is. You're going to use one of these higher level programs. And Premiere makes so much sense because with doing that required me to learn Lightroom. And that also required me to learn Photoshop and some of these other programs that are so ubiquitous and so useful to be able to just make things.
Yep.
So you're not limited going, oh crap, well I got this crappy image, but I can't quite get this thing out of it. Well, you can fix it in Photoshop, or you can touch up a crappy photo in Lightroom to make it look not as crappy. You know what I mean? So you can do all these changes to things. And for me, that was the big point of, fuck, I think I can actually do this like legitimately.
Yeah, like getting these cameras and getting into Premiere and stuff, it created such a gap between what we could do and what we had been doing
exactly
on the channel. And while the quality of like Random Souls, like story wise and editing wise, I feel like was good, we couldn't really apply the new camera stuff or the new Premiere stuff to it in really meaningful ways. And couldn't really figure out ways to do that for like not that we put like a shit ton of effort into thinking of something, but like there wasn't obvious ways to apply this camera stuff and that Premiere stuff to gaming and Namecast and stuff. Certainly nothing that like motivated us and made it just jump out to do it. But there were other things. Like we still haven't done anything with the footage yet, but like last summer you and I filmed disc golfing tournament.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah, so there's that. It's fun, but like that footage looks great, or at least some of it does.
Yeah.
Some of it's not great, but
yeah,
it was cool being able to like do cool stuff with that. And you started doing more professional things. You got me to help you out for a thing or two on that.
Yeah. So then I started getting professional gigs because honestly, the most powerful advice I can ever give anyone is just, I can check the time here. We're good. Is fake it till you make it. So I was acting like I knew what I was doing, and I think it was what I'm coming back to, that ignorance, not knowing what I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much other people on the island were killing it and how little I knew in comparison to everything, but I just hopped in like I knew everything, and that ignorance took me so far to the point where I literally landed a job with very high levels of government doing something way above what I knew how to do, and I went for it, and it worked out really well. And the technical aspects came along with that. I've never been as technically inclined, I think, as you are. You're someone who you're gonna get a shot and the colors are gonna be perfect and the shot's gonna be set up just right, and that's kind of where it comes from. Whereas with me, I don't care about that as much, because what I'm thinking about is I'm thinking of, okay, what's the story? That's my immediate thing, and I think that's what's led me to the point where I am now, where, you know, what I do for the most part is I do kind of emotionally driven pieces, and that's what gets me clients, right? So I do emotionally driven pieces for departments of like social development or nonprofit groups or someone who needs to tell a story to get money from investors. And that's what I end up doing. And I think it's because of that story, which, you know, I learned how to take a story from narrative and clips from these silly YouTube things we were doing, right? You know, it's, okay, well, how do I have this salad of things that are nuggets of, you know, good pieces that people are saying, and start to combine them together to make a coherent story, and then I put the finishing touches on that. So I put my music, I put my little beats, I put my B-roll over top of that, and by the end of it, if I've done my job right, I have my investor crying. And that's usually what ends up happening, and then that's snowballed for me into bigger and better jobs. And, you know, I'm very much in the newness of my business. You know, we launched officially 3 months ago. I've been doing it unofficially for about 9. But yeah, so that's where it's taken me to this point. You know, it's you know, it is what it is. Production's production. So there's, you know, music videos and, you know, jobs for the federal government, and sometimes a TV show that comes around, but it's been massive for me. How's it been for you hopping into the whole documentary space, going from everything that we knew?
It's been weird. It's still an ongoing process.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's been hard. Like, I don't really have a product yet. The closest thing I have is like a teaser thing I made quite a while ago. But what I have been doing a lot of is filming dodgeball, and even more so interviewing dodgeball people. And I've learned a lot about interviewing people over that time, setting up interview shots and stuff. Because like for the channel for so long, all our static shots were basically on a set, right? Like we didn't really tear things down that often. We always had like pretty much all 4 of our lights set up, ready and handy. That's you can't do a document.
Fuck, sorry. I forgot to set the timer again.
You can't really do a documentary like we had done the NameCast stuff.
It's run and gun, right?
It's run and gun, but also just like I am lucky to have one plug nearby most of the time. So like, how am I going to set up a bunch of lights? Like, so what I've really learned a lot is like, you know, here's this room. How do I get like the best shot out of the room? How do I use that natural light and stuff? And if I'm in a really shitty scenario, what's the easiest thing I can set up that'll look okay? That's not going to contrast the other shots and stuff I have. So yeah, I've learned a lot of that. I've learned a lot about using this camera. Just the settings I need. Like, I can generally judge most of the settings now without really looking at my shot anymore. Just from being in so many different environments, be it like a classroom with like just overhead fluorescent lighting, or like a lobby where like an entire giant wall that's like 10 feet high is all glass and like all the light pouring in you could want from one direction only. You know, there's a wide variety of stuff, and you know, you get to figure out how to set that up quickly, which is especially important when doing like the live action shots. And you know, I need a pretty big variety of those type of shots. You know, slow-mo or like kind of more realistic looking, or close in or wide. Like, it's tough. A lot of it's because like I don't know what the product is yet. I don't have things pieced together, so like it's hard to judge whether I'm doing well or not.
You don't know.
All I really know is that the process is getting easier for me. As I learn these things, and you know, the vision is coming together. I think what we want is starting to get more clear. You know, we are getting some very good things. You know, we're getting support and stuff, and that's pretty fantastic.
Wait, what do you mean support? Like financial?
Not financial support, but you know, the community is really reaching out.
Nice.
That's pretty great. But I guess there's this other thing that I haven't even mentioned, is we did a little like side promotional series for this National Dodgeball Festival thing. we were at, and it's probably the like closest representation of like the highest quality thing I could make currently.
Yeah.
We did a lot of really cool stuff with it. It's what it is Toombs versus Mergler. So Nathan Toombs is a local dodgeball player here. He's just a guy. He just plays.
He's a freaking goofball.
He's a goofball.
He's a total goof.
But yeah, he just plays dodgeball. He's just a regular player. And he just kind of as a joke, like he was calling out Jason Mergler, who is one of the world's best dodgeball players. He's won Worlds 3 times. He's been on the Canadian national team like 5 times or something like that.
He's literally one of the best dodgeball players. How did that even start? Like, where did that come from?
So where that came from was Nathan was just getting into dodgeball, and he asked Matt, who's the guy I'm working with on the documentary on, who are some of the best dodgeball players. And Matt just started kind of listing off some names, and he said Jason Mergler. Then he said a couple other names, and Nathan's like, "Wait, hold on. Jason Mergler? What kind of a name is that?" And that kind of became a joke. It was just a joke that carried on. Eventually, Nathan took it on to Facebook, and there was something that like Jason Mergler was like pasted in. Probably like it was probably the 2017 Worlds team announcement or something like that. Like. And Nathan commented, "Jason Mergler? What kind of a name is that?" Like on the Facebook post. And Jason's sister, I believe, responded.
Yeah, she did.
And she was like, yeah, she basically agreed Mergler's a stupid name, even though it's her last name.
Yeah,
as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that kind of like legitimized it a little bit. And like because like our community actually like competes very well on the national level, like we had a lot of access to Team Canada players and stuff like that. So yeah, we approached Jason Mergler about it, and he thought it was kind of funny and stuff. So we made a thing out of it, and that thing was that at the National Dodgeball Festival that just happened in Barrie, Ontario, they had a 1v1 match.
So let me just roll it back here. That's kind of what happened, but what I remember happening, right, was you went up with a camera into his face, and Matt just out of nowhere said to him, "What do you think of Toombs versus Mergler 2018?" And he gave you a totally unexpected response that started this whole thing, right? He turns to the camera and he goes, "I've heard about it, and I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you 2018. I'll see you in Barrie," out of fucking nowhere. That was my understanding of the situation.
Not that,
and then it just...
It's not that quite that wild. We knew we wanted to do like a showdown with them at Barrie because they would both be there, and we knew Jason thought the thing was funny or whatever.
Yeah.
So what we did is like while he was playing a game, he got out, he like stumbled out of the court, and we just like randomly approached him like, "What do you think of Nathan's Toombs challenging you?" And Jason made a fantastic response, and that kind of started the video. Thing like that was the first video, and then we for the second one we did a more scripted one, and like the whole thing took a kind of like a WWE take where it's like Nathan was like the heel, like the bad guy.
It was wrestling meets dodgeball. It was so good. Those videos are fucking dynamite, man. They're so cheesy, funny, ridiculous.
So he was challenging him. So we did two scripted videos with Nathan. Then we were at Winnipeg for Worlds, or not Worlds, sorry, Nationals. We got a response video from Jason. We were like, and he was, he basically like threw a little bit of shade back at Nathan, just in a very kind of like
he was
polite
the hero,
manner.
Right? Yeah, he was the hero.
And then he ended it with like, well, let's make a thing out of this, like donate to Red Cross. If you support me, Nathan, you can do something. You can support your own charity. We'll see which one of us, has more support or whatever. So then Nathan did his own, and because he's the bad guy...
it's amazing we got the same set as Nathan had too. Crazy.
That's weird.
Funny how that works out.
So Nathan responded with like the Nathan Toombs Charity Drinking Fund cause.
That delivery was awesome too, the way he says it too. I'm going to call it the Nathan Toombs Drink.
It was so great. People did send money to that, by the way.
I saw that.
Yeah, we'll be making sure that money does make it to charity
Yeah,
or
it just
whatever.
goes to charity.
Pretty funny. It hyped it up a lot, and a lot of people really enjoyed it. I think it was mostly enjoyed by like PEI people.
But the thing is, it kind of permeated too, because I was hanging out with one of my friends last night, and I turn over, she's wearing a Team Toombs hoodie. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of became a small local thing that started off from a joke with promotional material that you started making. So how was that experience, kind of?
It was pretty fun. A lot of people like came up to me, like, "Did you make those? Those are really funny." I'm like, "Yeah." It's pretty sweet. I'm really proud of how those videos turned out. I feel like there's a lot of style to them.
Yeah.
That they nailed like the style we wanted them to nail.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they were done pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
There is the pro cons board one where that one took significantly longer to edit than the rest of them, because the rest of them are like single day edits.
Yeah.
Like pretty quick jobs. That one was kind of more involved. But yeah, like, the videos turned out great, and they got a lot of people excited for it.
Yeah.
And when it actually happened in Barrie, like, that was fantastic too. And like, we were very worried because like we did not have a great time like figuring out how that was going to work beforehand.
Yeah.
We were trying to work with the organizers for the event, and that was a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
They weren't giving us many details or helping us get what we want very well. And I missed the rehearsal thing.
Okay.
But I guess that didn't go well either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Matt was pretty ready to cancel the whole thing, but
Forgot what happened.
I think it was basically just like no planning at all. And like, for this thing we put all the effort into, like, do it right or don't do it.
Yeah.
That was kind of the mentality. But anyways, it ended up coming together towards the end, and it was actually really great. They had spotlights that they were like shining on people.
The spotlight was so good. A Murgler with the face, like it looked great.
Yeah, it looked fantastic. Like like when I was taking that like camera shot and like walking backwards with like him there, and like the light was like getting revealed and hidden by like his head, and it was just like a halo glowing around.
It was a great looking shot. It looked like the place was packed too.
Yeah, it was pretty busy there, and it was kind of funny because like I'm walking backwards with the camera, right, and there's like people like realizing like that this was a thing, but like they were like, oh shit, I'm about to like hit the camera guy, I need to get out of his way. I definitely like bumped somebody along the way. But like we had like partially scripted the match too, so like we put a lot of like funny little details in there, like. The like posses like with them and stuff. Like Nathan's one posse looked pretty tough. Jason's was just like kind of like, we're here.
Yeah.
But one of them was Vic, Coach Vic. He's like the coach for Dodgeball's Team Canada.
Yeah.
And when Nathan walks in, like he just throws his Team Tomb sweater on him and pats him on the head, which is hilarious because like this guy is like. He's pretty influential in dodgeball. Like he's on like the Dodgeball Canada board. Like
he's up there for dodgeball.
Yeah, he's just a very important person. So
I didn't know
like Nathan
that
just kind of like giving him a pat on the head.
Totally dismissing him.
Hilarious. And just we scripted the fight out for the most part. Like it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
First point was just whoever gets it. Second point was going to be Nathan throwing. It was supposed to be chalk, but we actually used flour.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Easier to sweep.
Yeah.
And so we scripted that point for Nathan, and then for the last point, we were like, Nathan, you roll the ball over and just go for a catch.
Yeah.
Like because like Nathan's thing is catching, right? And one of the video references it before.
He catches his own throw.
Yeah. So we let that, and everybody freaking loved it. Like people were cheering. I was hearing like so many like not PEI people into it. I was glad to hear that. Like while I was shooting, there was some guy behind me who was like calling out what was gonna happen. Oh, like the handshake thing. Like when she shake his hand. Nope.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, the crowd reaction for that part was awesome. Oh.
So I don't know. That was really fantastic. Like everything turned out so freaking well, and that made me really really happy. Like. Mostly because like it contrasted the documentary stuff, right?
Right.
This documentary
So
stuff
different.
where I'm working on it. I'm just working, just getting shots and no real
Yeah.
products coming out. These were like very quick products.
Yeah.
And like because it's humorous as well, like I find like when you make comedic content, the reactions to it are just like so quick. Like you know if people find it funny.
Yeah.
People are very like upfront and like they'll show that.
They laugh or they don't. It's
Yeah.
kinda,
Whereas if you make like kind of more difficult things, like it's harder to gauge.
Yeah.
Like even yourself, like I find it easier to find if like things I made are funny.
Yeah.
While I'm making them, as opposed to like something more emotional.
Yeah,
It's
if something has you chuckling, you're still gonna chuckle a little
Yeah.
bit, but like
you can
if
get
there's an
really
emotion-
desensitized.
Oh yeah, especially because you see how the sausage was made with that,
Yeah.
right? So that emotional bit wasn't emotional until you added all these things and these music beats and everything, and then at this point you're like, I don't care. It's just I want this color to look just right, and then you don't see it for that anymore. You're like, that green still doesn't look perfect.
Yeah.
That's how you see it now.
Yeah. We're playing with like which of these last 5 frames to cut on.
Exactly, right?
For an hour.
And then you show it to someone else, they're like, wow, that was really emotional. Like, right, yeah, emotional, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it contrasted the documentary stuff really well. And yeah, it's great. It's probably what I'd point to be like somebody who needed an example of what I could make.
Right.
I'd be like, yeah, check out this playlist on
Right.
YouTube. And yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so now what have we been doing as well? So I guess you can find us on other things. So now honestly, most of what I do is still confidential for the most part, but I'm frigging around with that a little bit because right now I'm not totally booked up all the time. Like I do have some free time every now and again. So I'm starting to just make documentaries for me as passion projects. And the first one I did, aside from that challenge that you and I did, actually turned out really well. I did it on my friend who's a rock climber. He fell 100 feet and broke his neck. Not happy that it happened to my buddy, but the story itself ended up pretty good, and it's actually my most viewed thing to date. It's done pretty well. It's probably my favorite thing that I think I've made. The quality, just wasn't too bad. I got to use a lot of old GoPro footage, and it was pretty good, just being able to show that side of things. And now I'm moving on to just for kicks, I guess, setting up documentaries for other people, just random people, and I'm gonna try and have those coming out more regularly on the Wrong Horse Productions YouTube page. And then in addition to that, I also do very sporadically and seldomly super tight, in my opinion, like really kind of artfully shot a little bit vlogs. And they're on my personal YouTube page that, they'll come out every once in a while. Like I did a little video that I did on Nunavut, right? And it was it's tight, it's like 2.5 minutes, and it's not too personal. It just gets in and out of there with some nice shots in between, and that's the end of it there. So as far as like finding me on the social medias or whatever, that would be the best way to do it. But especially with the Wrong Horse Productions, there's going to be a lot more coming out with that over the next couple months. So for me, aside from, what I do for business and everything like that, that would be a good way to follow me and find me. It's not video game related at all, but I think there's some good stories.
I forgot about that challenge thing we did.
Yeah, so we did a documentary in 48 hours.
Yeah, that was something.
Yeah, that was something. It's one of those things of, did we pad it out a little bit? Maybe. Was the guy kind of not boring, but kind of boring? Maybe, but the shots were good. Yeah. I think we ended up giving a good product, especially if you like pinball. If you like pinball at all, that's a really big bug.
That is.
But if you like pinball at all, I think this is something that'll really appeal to you. And it still trickles in probably about 40 views every 2 days. It's just crossed over 2,000 views, which is not too bad. And it seems like people like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what NameCast as a channel is doing.
Yeah.
These days, 40 views every 2 days.
Yeah, 40 views every 2 days, which isn't too bad at all, right? There's a couple videos that just keep trickling them in. The Random Souls run, the first one, that Kingdom Hearts video, a couple other ones just trickle in every now and again. But as far as this channel goes, I hate to say it, but I do think it's all but dead unless there's something you want to do with it that I don't know about. But
I don't know, like, I'll probably do video game content again at some point,
Yeah.
but I don't think it would be correct to put it on NameCast.
What's that?
If I do anything, it's probably going to be more essay-like, and it's probably going to borrow on the documentary skills.
Yeah.
More so than anything else, which isn't really what NameCast was about. Not that NameCast was ever really about anything, but
It wasn't about anything. It was just us having fun with it. I gotta do something about this.
It's a poor bug. Decapitate it.
Yep. Whipped my phone.
Nice. So yeah, if I do something, it's probably going to be more essay-like. One YouTuber I've been watching a bunch of and really liking his format is Nakey Jakey.
Okay.
He does the essay kind of style, but he does it significantly more emotionally than all the other video game essayers. They're very cold.
Yeah.
So he does it like that. However, the stuff he does is very unpolished. It's part of his aesthetic. But I think if I took that approach and used my own highly polished aesthetic that I usually bring to things, it could kind of stand out on its own. And so I've got ideas for stuff there, but most of that's going to come down to when I have the free time to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what most of it comes down to, right? Is finding the time. So the biggest thing for me was when I learned that making films was definitely something I was more inclined to doing. It was reasoning with myself how I could continue to do that, yet I still like food. You know what I mean? Like, it was how I could continue to do this, yet make money while doing it. And, I have some people say to me, okay, yeah, so you're selling out is what you're doing. Well, no, I sold. There's no selling out. I own myself.
Yeah.
I own my business. I'm doing it in a way that allows me to actually continue to do it without having a massive online following, which as of right now I don't. And so if someone would look at the YouTube page and be like, oh man, you only have like 22 subs, you must be just getting started. I'm like, well, I've actually made enough to be doing this full time for months now. So I wouldn't say I'm at least
even
locally.
that stuff's kind of like a side project.
Exactly,
really.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not viewed as like, at least locally, talking to people, I'm not viewed as small time. Like, there are people that know me that think of me as someone who can do high quality productions, yet I'm nobody online.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing that I want to try and address on those vlogs, if I can, is creators are undervaluing themselves based upon the amount of money that they think they have, that they think that they can obtain through YouTube money. YouTube gives you nothing. They give you such a small amount of money, and it's only once you become like a Peter McKinnon or a Casey Neistat that you can really start making big money off of that.
Yeah.
And until that point, you're spending so much time to make a high quality product, and you're just not going to get any return on it when you can. If you know the right channels and you market yourself in the right way, you can do a corporate video and land yourself like literally $10,000. Like, people don't talk about the numbers all the time, but like that's enough to pay for rent for a couple months, right?
Yeah.
Like, whereas with YouTube, you'd have to make millions and millions of views to be able to do that, and that's earned through a long amount of time. Am I saying give up on YouTube and just do local film? Not necessarily, but what I'm saying is people are undervaluing themselves based upon this value that they see through YouTube of the people who won the frickin' lottery with millions and millions of subscribers. Yeah. I'm also not trying to say that those people aren't talented who have millions and millions, but I think if you were to ask them, they'd say, I won the fucking lottery.
Yeah,
you know what
most
I mean?
of them do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I hear from all of them, right? Is, it was a lot of hard work, but honestly, there was some luck.
Yeah.
There was some, and luck is just when preparation meets opportunities. But if those opportunities don't come around, then you haven't quite hit it yet. But with those two guys I mentioned, people look at Casey Neistat, and especially people look at Peter McKinnon as such an overnight success. He's only been doing it a year, has millions of subscribers. That guy has been down in the dirt forever, and by down in the dirt, I mean he's got a lot of shit under his boots. He's run production companies for years. He's been producer on a ton of projects. He, I think, spent 7 years working with some type of, not a carnival, but a circus, doing documentaries for them for 7 years. You know what I mean? Like, he knows what he's doing. That's why he's able to put forward that high quality product. You know, it's the overnight success in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 10 years in the making. So it's if you're upset and you don't think you can make enough money doing it, I recommend really looking at your local market and seeing if there are any opportunities that aren't currently being tapped so that you can continue to progress and grow as a filmmaker, because an idiot like me can do it, is what I'm saying.
I think, to what you're saying, a lot of people forget that YouTube is not the only platform for videos to exist in.
Exactly.
Videos can be other things.
Yeah.
You know, whether they're full feature-length movies or documentaries or whatever, or down to shorts. You can get plenty of funding to do shorts.
Yeah.
And probably survive that way if you're really good at getting funding.
Yeah.
But, like, there's significantly more reasonable ways to survive on it, like what Nathan's saying.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't have to be an art. You know, my buddy and I were talking about this. He runs a decent-sized production company on the island, and, you know, we're not artists. I don't give any illusion that I'm making some grand whatever. Some days I'm making someone's wedding video. Other days I'm shooting a funeral. You know what I mean? Like, it's you do what you got to do to continue to survive. And, you know, some people can look at that being like, oh, you're taking the art out of it. I don't fucking care. That's at the end of the day, I don't give a shit about the art or any aspect. If I'm putting 100% of myself into something and I think I'm giving a good quality product to the client and they're happy, at the end of the day, it's transaction complete and I feel good about my job. You know, that's the end of that. You know, are there any artistic ventures that I want to follow? Sure. You know, that's why I do these documentary side projects. But as far as, you know, just doing a project and someone being like, oh, poo-pooing at corporate work, well, they're probably not making any money in the first place. So don't let anyone bring you down with that. Because I've had a couple people try to be like, oh, you do corporate and you snuff their nose up. I mean, whatever, man. I'm getting by. Yeah, so don't let anyone get you down on that crap. Anyway, any final closings or anything there? I don't know. What do you got?
I don't think so. We talked about a lot here.
We talked about a lot.
It's a long video.
I went off on a rant at the last little bit, but that is to be expected, I guess. Yeah, no, thank you so much to everyone who's continued to watch over the years at this point. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Sam Chicken Pika, who I think has sent over some of our most devout fans.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, we're talking to you, Refugee. We're talking to you, Ryan. You know, you guys comment in every video, every second video. Like, just for me, made it like, okay, someone's watching. Like, someone's getting it.
Someone wants the next video to come out.
Exactly, which was humongous. And I know there are other people out there who just don't comment. You know, because we would see the views tick up consistently. So we knew there were other people that just don't comment, which is totally, you know, you're just as important. Don't get me wrong. I just don't have any name to tie to you. But yeah, it was a fun experience. It was a big learning experience, and I think there's only going to be, you know, more and hopefully more successful experiences to come. You know. Yeah. Any final words, Kev, on the end of NameCast? For real this time?
The for real end.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I don't know, it's weird. It's not like I'm sad to let it go. It's not like I'm happy to let it go. Like, I really wish I could have finished Random Souls.
Yeah.
That thing is probably dead for technical reasons, let alone actually getting time to finish doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, there was a lot of great experiences from the entire thing. So much learning, so many opportunities. Like, video games are always going to be like my main thing, like making those, that's my main thing. But like, I never pictured getting into like cinematography and this kind of stuff like as much as I am now. Like, like with how much I've focused on video games, it was always kind of like, that's just what I have to do. I have to focus on this because that's where my skill set is.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to fall back on. Now I feel like I probably do have something to fall back on if I want to change.
It's diversifying skill sets, really. So let's say 10 years down the road, you decide you want to go indie. You can actually run your own high-quality media campaign. You know, it allows for so many opportunities, I think.
Yeah. A whole bunch of different ways, right? Because, like, the video game stuff, like, it's a diverse skill set that you need for it anyways, because it incorporates so many different components and stuff. So yeah, like there's so many ways that like what I've learned from NameCast and all the stuff I've done since, like how I can incorporate that and what I've learned, and how it applies to making video games and stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to learn. So I don't know. I'd recommend try it if you want. Have some fun.
If you want to do a thing, just do it.
Yeah, just do the thing, man. Just do the thing. Anyway, buddy, it's been a wild ride, and we'll close out on a handshake, my friend. A handshake indeed. Awesome. Do we say anything at the end of episodes? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Keep on booping? What do we say? See you guys next time? No.
Hopefully not.
No. I don't know. Is there anything we say?
Not that I can think of.
Just keep on being. Yep. Yeah.
Short steps, deep breath, everything is alright. Chin up.
Hello everybody, welcome to Gen. My name is Nathan, and this is
Step
Kevin.
into
And today we're
the
playing a Dark Souls series, which is
spotlight.
titled Slightly Inebriated Souls. There are 4
She
simple rules. You can check it down the doop and directly
I'm
underneath us.
sad, somehow without any words. I just stood there.
I didn't say it.
Searching for an answer when this world is no more. The moon is all we'll see. I'll ask you to fly away with me until the stars all fall down. They empty from the sky, but I don't mind. If you're with me, then everything's alright. Why do my words always lose their meaning? I feel what I say, there's such a rift between them. He said, I can't really seem to read you. I just stood there, never know what I should do. When this world is no more, the moon is all we'll see. I'll ask you to fly away with me until the stars all fall down. They empty from the sky, but I don't mind. If you're with me, then everything's alright. If you're with me, then everything's alright.